Want to speak real Greek from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at GreekPod101.com.
Want to finally start speaking in your target language? In this guide, you'll discover the top 7 ways to practice speaking on your own with our lessons. Let's begin. Number 1, shadowing. Shadowing is a proven learning technique where all you do is repeat what you hear in order to practice speaking. So, access any audio or video lesson on the site and press the play button to start. Then, as you listen or watch, just repeat the conversations. Or, even easier, read along out loud with the dialogue section. The script is right there in front of you. With our lessons, you can master entire conversations, just like that. Number 2, read out loud. I just mentioned it, but reading out loud is another powerful tactic and deserves its own mention. With every lesson, you get written transcripts and translations. So, as you play the lesson, read the dialogue out loud as you hear it. Why? By reading out loud, you're also practicing your speaking skills. You can do this with the lesson notes, the lesson transcript, or the dialogue tool. With the dialogue tool, you can listen to each line again and again, and repeat out loud until you master them all. Number 3, speed up your reading to speed up your speaking. Being able to speak without thinking is a sign of language mastery. If you're talking to a native and can respond quickly, they'll assume that you're fairly fluent. How can you do this? When you read out loud, try increasing your speed a little bit every time. So, start by reading with the dialogue tool. If you're like most learners, you'll read the first line slowly. That's because you're still getting used to the words, which is okay. Reread it. On your second try, you know most of the words, and you'll read a little faster. Reread it again. On your third try, you'll be even faster, at a native speaker's speed. And being able to read these phrases out loud and fast will help you speak fast. Number 4, record and compare yourself with native speakers. In order to sound like a native speaker, you must imitate native speakers. So here's how. Access the voice recorder, which is in the Dialogue Study tool in every lesson. Click on the microphone icon. Listen to the native speaker's audio, and then record yourself. You can then compare the 2 recordings side by side, and practice and try again and again until you perfect your pronunciation. Number 5, get feedback from our Premium Plus teacher. If you're learning by yourself and don't have access to real teachers, then you can always get feedback from our Premium Plus teachers. With the My Teacher tool, you can record yourself speaking and send the audio file to the teacher. They'll review it and tell you what to improve and how. That's it. Number 6, level up your speaking with Premium Plus assignments. With Premium Plus, you can also get assignments that cover reading, writing, listening, and even speaking from your teacher. These assignments can be tailored to your goals and needs. You get a new one every week, or anytime you're ready for a new one. Number 7, get even more lessons in the lesson library. If you want even more lessons on speaking and conversations, visit our lesson library and under Category, choose Conversation. You'll get all of the pathways and lessons that are focused on speaking. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way, and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Η πρώην κοπέλα μου.
Α, Πέτρο, είσαι καλά?
Ναι, είμαι καλά. Αυτή είναι η κοπέλα μου η Έλλη. Είναι από την Καλαμάτα.
Ωραία, χαίρομαι πολύ. Είστε εδώ για διακοπές?
Ναι. Πέτρο, είμαι κουρασμένη. Πάμε στο ξενοδοχείο.
Ναι, πάμε.
Περίμενε. Αυτό είναι το τηλέφωνό μου. 2, 1, 0, 7, 7, 0, 4, 6, 3, 8.
Εντάξει.
Και το κινητό μου είναι 6, 9, 3, 2, 5, 5, 5, 9, 1, 0.
Ωραία.
Είναι εύκολο. 6, 9, 3, 2, 3 φορές. Το 5, 9, 1, 0.
Ευχαριστώ.
Ποιο είναι το τηλέφωνό σου?
Δεν το θυμάμαι. Λυπάμαι.
Πάμε.
Παρακαλώ.
Μία πορτοκαλάδα, παρακαλώ.
Εγώ θέλω ένα νερό.
Αυτά είναι όλα?
Ναι.
Βεβαίως. Ορίστε η πορτοκαλάδα, το νερό και ο λογαριασμός.
Ζέστη,
Ναι, κάνει πολύ ζέστη. Μου αρέσει η ζέστη. Στη Γερμανία βρέχει τώρα και κάνει κρύο. Είσαι από τη Γερμανία? Ναι, από το Βερολίνο. Με λένε Αντρέα. Χαίρομαι πολύ, Αντρέα. Εγώ είμαι η Έλλη.
Και εγώ είμαι ο Πέτρος.
Χαίρομαι πολύ. Είστε από την Αθήνα?
Όχι, κάνουμε διακοπές εδώ.
Τι δουλειά κάνετε?
Εγώ δουλεύω ως δάσκαλος. Η Έλλη σπουδάζει ακόμα. Πέτρος Αντωνίου. Ένα δίκλινο παρακαλώ.
Βεβαίως. Αντωνίου. Λυπάμαι. Δεν βλέπω την κράτησή σας.
Περίεργο.
Ναι, λυπάμαι πολύ. Θέλετε ένα δίκλινο?
Ναι, θέλουμε ένα δίκλινο για μία εβδομάδα. Έχετε?
Έχουμε άλλο ένα δίκλινο, το 9.
Έχει ζεστό νερό?
Βεβαίως. Έχει ζεστό νερό, κλιματιστικό, τηλεόραση και μίνι μπαρ.
Πόσο κάνει?
50 ευρώ.
In this video, you'll have a chance to test them out with a quiz. First, you'll see an image and hear a question. Next comes a short dialogue. Listen carefully and see if you can answer correctly. We'll show you the answer at the end. Are you ready?
Μια γυναίκα ρωτάει κάτι έναν υπάλληλο καταστήματος σε ένα βιβλιοπωλείο. Ποιο βιβλίο θέλει να δει η γυναίκα? Συγγνώμη, θα ήθελα να ρίξω μια ματιά σε ένα βιβλίο σε αυτό το ράφι εκεί.
Ποιο βιβλίο θα θέλατε?
Αυτό σχετικά με τα αυτοκίνητα.
Μια στιγμή παρακαλώ. Αυτό?
Ναι, αυτό είναι.
Ορίστε.
Ποιο βιβλίο θέλει να δει η γυναίκα? Μια γυναίκα ρωτάει κάτι έναν υπάλληλο καταστήματος σε ένα βιβλιοπωλείο. Ποιο βιβλίο θέλει να δει η γυναίκα? Συγγνώμη, θα ήθελα να ρίξω μια ματιά σε ένα βιβλίο σε αυτό το ράφι εκεί.
Ποιο βιβλίο θα θέλατε?
Αυτό σχετικά με τα αυτοκίνητα.
Μια στιγμή παρακαλώ. Αυτό?
Ναι, αυτό είναι.
Ορίστε.
Ένας άντρας και μια γυναίκα κοιτάζουν τον κατάλογο σε ένα εστιατόριο. Τι θα παραγγείλει ο άντρας?
Τι θα παραγγείλεις?
Η πίτσα φαίνεται νόστιμη. Νομίζω αυτό θα παραγγείλω.
Έφαγα πίτσα χτες. Οπότε...
Οκ, τότε τι λες για χάμπουργκερ?
Καλό φαίνεται. Αυτό θα πάρω.
Τι θα παραγγείλει ο άντρας? Ένας άντρας και μια γυναίκα κοιτάζουν τον κατάλογο σε ένα εστιατόριο. Τι θα παραγγείλει ο άντρας?
Τι θα παραγγείλεις?
Η πίτσα φαίνεται νόστιμη. Νομίζω αυτό θα παραγγείλω.
Έφαγα πίτσα χτες. Οπότε...
Οκ, τότε τι λες για χάμπουργκερ?
Καλό φαίνεται. Αυτό θα πάρω.
Ένας άντρας τηλεφωνεί το ιατρείο. Μέχρι τι ώρα πρέπει να είναι στο ιατρείο? Γεια σας, πώς μπορώ να σας βοηθήσω?
Τι ώρα κλείνετε σήμερα?
Κλείνουμε στις 6, αλλά παρακαλώ περάστε πριν τις 5:30.
Εντάξει, σας ευχαριστώ.
Μέχρι τι ώρα πρέπει να είναι στο ιατρείο? Ένας άντρας τηλεφωνεί το ιατρείο. Μέχρι τι ώρα πρέπει να είναι στο ιατρείο? Γεια σας, πώς μπορώ να σας βοηθήσω?
Τι ώρα κλείνετε σήμερα?
Κλείνουμε στις 6, αλλά παρακαλώ περάστε πριν τις 5:30.
Εντάξει, σας ευχαριστώ.
Ένα αγόρι διαβάζει το ημερολόγιό του. Ποιο ήταν το πρώτο πράγμα που το αγόρι έκανε σήμερα?
Ο καιρός ήταν καταπληκτικός σήμερα. Το απόγευμα πήγα για κολύμπι στην πισίνα. Πήγα και σινεμά το βραδάκι. Επίσης, μελετούσα όλο το πρωί. Σήμερα δεν ήταν και άσχημα.
Ποιο ήταν το πρώτο πράγμα που το αγόρι έκανε σήμερα? Ένα αγόρι διαβάζει το ημερολόγιό του. Ποιο ήταν το πρώτο πράγμα που το αγόρι έκανε σήμερα?
Ο καιρός ήταν καταπληκτικός σήμερα. Το απόγευμα πήγα για κολύμπι στην πισίνα. Πήγα και σινεμά το βραδάκι. Επίσης, μελετούσα όλο το πρωί. Σήμερα δεν ήταν και άσχημα.
Hi, welcome to Introduction to Greek. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Chrissy.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Greek grammar. We won't be going into too much depth because it's impossible to condense everything into one short video lesson, but this video will give you a good idea of the main points of Greek grammar. The Greek language has one of the most extensive vocabularies in the world. All Greek words can be categorized into 10 different parts of speech. Furthermore, the Greek parts of speech are separated into inflected and non-inflected.
You might be wondering, what is inflection exactly?
Inflection is the modification of a word to express things such as tense, number, person, and more. The inflection of verbs is called conjugation. The inflection of articles, nouns, adjectives, and pronouns is called declension. When a word is not inflected, it means that its form never changes in speech.
The Greek inflected types of speech are the articles, nouns, adjectives, pronouns, verbs, and participles.
The Greek non-inflected types of speech are the adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections.
Greek has also some small non-inflected words called particles. However, particles are not considered a part of speech.
In this video, we won't focus on non-inflected words because their use is very straightforward. Instead, we'll focus on declension and conjugation, which are more complex processes. In Greek, articles, nouns, adjectives, pronouns, and the passive voice participles are declinable. That means that they have different forms, just like the English noun cat changes to cats in the plural. The whole set of different forms that a declinable word may present in Greek is called declension.
Or klisi, literally meaning inclination.
And each different form a declinable word may have is called case.
Or ptosi, literally meaning fall.
There are 4 cases in Greek: the nominative, the genitive, the accusative, and the vocative case.
In Greek, the nominative case has always been considered a direct case or orthiptosi, together with the vocative. The genitive and the accusative, on the other hand, were always considered to be oblique cases, or pleies ptosis.
But what do direct and oblique mean here? Well, let's remember the inclination and fall concept for a moment. If you set up a thin stick vertically on the ground, it won't stand, it'll fall. The nominative case, being the direct case or straight case, indicates the form of a word that is the base, the starting point. This is like the moment when the stick is standing straight before it starts falling. Declinable words are always in the nominative form in dictionaries. In ancient times, the vocative was identical to the nominative. So the vocative is still considered a direct case, although today there may be some differences between the two cases. Imagine now that the standing stick starts falling. During the fall, its position constantly changes in relationship to its starting point until it falls flat on the ground. Declinable words change too in relationship to their starting point, the nominative case. So the oblique cases, or bent cases, represent the form of a word that is not the base, like when the stick is already inclined and falling. These are the genitive and the accusative cases. The whole idea of declension, cases, and different forms of the same word may seem strange to an English speaker because English lost its case system almost completely. However, we can still see some declension happening to words, such as the personal pronouns. For example, I, he, she, we, and they can change to me, him, her, us, and them. In the phrase, she loves him, she denotes the subject, while him denotes the object. Similarly, the Greek case system exists in order to indicate certain grammatical relationships among the words of a sentence, like the subject, object, and more. It's actually because of the case system that word order in Greek sentences is relatively flexible. For example, in English, the sentences "the cat eats the mouse" and "the mouse eats the cat" mean different things. By swapping the nouns cat and mouse, the meaning changes completely. However, in Greek, the meaning wouldn't change because the form itself of a word shows us whether it's the subject or the object.
The word order depends on what the speaker wants to emphasize, as the first word gets more attention. So the second sentence is actually more like saying, "It is the mouse that the cat eats."
The grammatical case is the first characteristic of declension. The other two characteristics are gender and number. There are 3 genders in Greek: masculine, feminine, and neuter. All declinable words, including articles, are gendered. For example, in Greek, the definite article the comes in all 3 genders.
O, I, to.
And just like in English, there are singular and plural forms. So in the plural form, the Greek definite articles become
I, ta.
If we also add the forms for each case, then these are all the possible forms a definite article may have in speech. Note that definite articles don't have a vocative case form. Another thing to keep in mind about articles is that they need to have the same case, gender, and number as the words they define. For example, nouns and adjectives. The same goes for all declinable words that define each other. Now let's move on to the conjugation of verbs.
Again, the word conjugation in Greek is called klisi.
Greek verbs are divided into 2 main conjugation groups depending on their main ending. There's conjugation A and conjugation B. Furthermore, conjugation B has 2 subgroups, first and second class. The conjugation group is one of the characteristics of a verb. There are 6 more characteristics that you need to keep in mind: the person, number, mood, tense, voice, and the diathesis. Just like in English, there are 3 persons, first, second, and third, for I, you, and he, she, it. There are 2 numerical forms, singular and plural, and 2 voices, active and passive. As for the tenses, there are 8 tenses in Greek. The present tense, which makes no distinction between the simple or continuous present, the past continuous, the simple past, the future continuous, the simple future, the perfect, the past perfect, and the future perfect tense. Please keep in mind that in Greek, it's not always necessary to add the personal pronoun. That's because unlike English, verbs have a different form for each person, so the verb form itself shows us which person we're talking about. If pronouns are used, those are to make the context more clear or for emphasis.
Next, the mood of a verb has to do with the way the verb is presented. A verb might be presented as something real, that is a fact, as something we expect or wish to happen, or as a command, among others. There are 5 moods in Greek, but we won't go into detail at this moment.
Lastly, diathesis, literally meaning disposition, has to do with the meaning of a verb and the type of action it describes. For example, it might show us that the subject is doing an action, that the subject is acting upon itself, that someone else is acting upon the subject, or that the subject is simply in a particular state. With these basic grammar points in mind, you know what to expect once you start studying Greek grammar.
Now, let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned.
In this lesson, you learned the Greek parts of speech as well as which ones are inflected and which ones are not. We introduced you to the basic characteristics of declension and conjugation. You also learned that due to declension, word order is flexible in Greek. We've covered only the very basics of Greek grammar. If you're interested in more Greek, check out our Greek in 3 minutes video series. In that course, we teach you useful phrases and each lesson is only 3 minutes long. Bye!
Γεια χαρά!
Want to speak real Greek from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at GreekPod101.com.
To master a new language and understand everything as soon as you hear it, to read with just a quick glance and speak smoothly without thinking, you need to review. Here are our top 5 review tactics. Number 1. Listen to examples over and over again. By listening closely and often, you start to pick up the rhythm of a language, as well as correct pronunciation from a native speaker. Use our line-by-line feature that lets you both listen and read along. Use this tool to practice as much as possible. Number 2. Use our voice recording tool to master perfect pronunciation. Record yourself and compare it against the native speaker. If you sound different, then repeat after the native speaker until you're able to match them. Use our voice recording feature, which makes recording super easy. Number 3. Master your recorded conversations. Record conversations and go over them again and again. Master entire conversations and repeat them line by line. Use any of the dialogues available for download on our website. These come with transcripts of the entire conversation. Number 4. Use mobile devices to reinforce previously learned conversations. Constant review is the best way to progress in your language studies. Download the recorded dialogue to your mobile device and incorporate it into your music playlist. Quick reviews throughout the day effectively reinforce what you've learned. Number 5. Read with line-by-line notes. Read along with a native speaker to really master pronunciation and natural intonation. You should start slow at first, then slowly increase your speed. Your pronunciation will become more natural. You will also see that your ability to understand fluent speakers will greatly increase. You'll be able to improve your communication skills using these 5 simple review techniques. Increase your understanding of your target language. And remember, if you're interested in getting all these review tools, sign up for your free lifetime account. No credit card required, and you'll get the best free online resources. And start reviewing more every day.
Hi everybody, Stefania here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Greek questions. The question for this lesson is, how can I tell if a noun is masculine, feminine, or neuter? I get this question all the time. If the noun is in its dictionary form, in other words, in the nominative case, and is accompanied by a definite or indefinite article, then the article will indicate the noun's gender. Now, if the noun is not accompanied by an article, and especially when it is in an inflected form, then the gender might not be obvious. However, if you become familiar with the most common noun endings and declension patterns, you should be able to tell the gender in most cases. Let's get into more detail. First, let's see what are the most common masculine, feminine, and neuter noun endings. The following endings are the most common masculine endings in the nominative case. Os like ήλιος, sun. As like pateras, father. Is like μαθητής, student. Es like kafes, coffee. Us like papous, grandfather. And eas like kureas, barber. Some common feminine nouns have the following endings in the nominative case. Os like odos, street. A like mitera, mother. E like agapi, love. U like maimu, monkey. And O like hijo, echo. The following endings are the most common neuter endings in the nominative case. Os like dasos, forest. O like nero, water. E like παιδί, child. Ma like pragma, thing. Imo like gráψιμο, writing. Sigma like phos, light. And ni like παρελθόν, past. Here are some sample sentences. Ο πατέρας και η μητέρα παίζουν με το παιδί τους. The father and the mother are playing with their child. Ο τουρίστας φωτογραφίζει μια μαϊμού στο δάσος. The tourist is taking pictures of a monkey in the forest. To follow this up, how can you tell the gender of os ending nouns? As you've noticed, the os ending can be found in nouns of all genders, so when you see this, you can't really guess the gender if there is no article or another helpful word around. However, here's a tip. If the noun is accented in the last syllable, you can be sure that this noun is not neuter. Another important thing to know is that there are many os ending nouns that are both masculine and feminine. Those usually denote a profession, such as o ή γιατρός, doctor, or o ή δικηγόρος, lawyer. Let's see some examples. Η γιατρός παρατηρεί τις ακτινογραφίες. The doctor is observing the x-rays. Ο δικηγόρος μιλάει στον δικαστή. The lawyer is speaking to the judge. Finally, what are some uncommon noun endings? There are only a few specific native Greek nouns that have uncommon endings, like the irregular masculine noun mis, muscle, ending in is, the neuter ipar, liver, and pir, fire, that end in ro, the neuter gala, milk, that ends in a, and the neuter oxy, acid, dori, spare, and imisi, half, that end in ypsilon. Also, the names of the letters of the alphabet are all neuter nouns, even the ones that end in a, like alpha and vita. Finally, there are many loan words that have not been adapted to the Greek declension system, so they don't get inflected, and they usually have uncommon or confusing endings, like the dual-gender indeclinable noun detective, ending in vita. So loan words will always be more challenging when it comes to guessing the gender. Here are two more examples. Το μωρό πίνει πολύ γάλα. The baby drinks a lot of milk. Οι detective παρακολουθούν έναν ύποπτο. The detectives are following a suspect. I'm sure after a lesson like this, you might be freaking out. But if you're a beginner or an absolute beginner, you don't need to know all of this right away. A tip that will make your life easier down the road is when you study vocabulary, focus on the endings of words and always memorize declinable words together with their articles, especially nouns. Do that at least for the os ending nouns or other nouns you feel you might get confused. Don't just memorize milk as gala. You should memorize it as to gala. Otherwise, you might mistake it for a feminine noun because it ends in a. How was the lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Γεια χαρά! Hi everybody, Stefania here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Greek questions. The question for this lesson is, how do you use Greek definite articles? Just like in English, we use Greek definite articles to talk about specific people, animals, things, or concepts, so they need to be defined. Greek has three different definite articles, o, I, and to, for the masculine, feminine, and neuter genders respectively. They are inflected, so their forms can change. An article defines a noun and it needs to always agree with it in gender, number, and case. However, instead of a noun, we could use any nominalized word or phrase to act like a noun. Let's go into more detail. First, let's see when we use the Greek definite articles. In Greek, we use them more often than their English equivalent, the. So while in English we say, I like tennis, in Greek we say, μου αρέσει το τένις. Literally, I like the tennis. Because we are specifying which sport we like. We even use articles in front of days of the week, months, years, festivals, seasons, and proper names of places or people. For example, ο Γιάννης είναι εδώ. The John is here. However, when we address that person directly, we don't use an article and we form the name in the vocative case. For example, Yanni, έλα εδώ. John, come here. Notice how Yannis in the nominative case changed to Yanni in the vocative case. Here are some sample sentences. Ποιος είναι? Η Μαρία. Who is it? It's Maria. Την Κυριακή τα παιδιά πηγαίνουν εκδρομές. On Sunday, the kids go on excursions. Ο εκτυπωτής εκτυπώνει ένα έγγραφο. The printer is printing a document. Πήρε τηλέφωνο η γυναίκα. The woman called. Here are some more uses of the definite article. Number 1. Between a noun and the demonstrative pronouns αυτός, αυτή, αυτό. Ετούτος, ετούτη, ετούτο, and εκείνος, εκείνη, εκείνο. For example, αυτή η γυναίκα, this woman. Number 2. Between a noun and the adjectives όλος and ολόκληρος. For example, όλη η τάξη, the whole class, and ολόκληρος ο κόσμος, the whole world. However, ολόκληρος might not always require an article. For example, περιμένω ολόκληρες ώρες. I've been waiting for hours. Number 3. With a noun denoting something very specific followed by a possessive pronoun. For example, το βιβλίο μου, my book. Number 4. When talking about a rate. For example, 5 ώρες την ημέρα, 5 hours per day. Number 5. In sequences of nouns. For example, οι άντρες και οι γυναίκες, the men and women. Number 6. With abstract nouns, nouns denoting substances, and with nouns and adjectives in the plural when they denote a very specific entity. For example, η υπομονή είναι χρυσός. Patience is gold. Το ξύλο καίγεται εύκολα. Wood burns easily. And τα παιδιά είναι το μέλλον. Children are the future. Number 7. When we want to treat as a noun a different type of word or even a whole phrase. In that case, we use the neuter article. For example, τι θα φέρει το αύριο? What will tomorrow bring? Ποια είναι η σημασία του βλέπω? What's the meaning of to see? And το ότι καπνίζεις με απογοητεύει. The fact that you smoke disappoints me. Finally, let's see some cases where you don't need a definite article. The most common cases are with the subject or object of a sentence when we are talking about it generally or when we don't want to define it as something or someone specific. For example, υπάρχει περίπτωση ανθρώπου που γύρισε στη ζωή. There is a case of a man that came back to life. And πήρα αυτοκίνητο. I bought a car. Next, in predicates when we give an attribute to something or someone. Predicates are connected with the subject through a linking verb, like the verb to be. For example, αυτή είναι δασκάλα. She is a teacher. Finally, in similes after σαν, meaning as or like. For example, ψηλός σαν κυπαρίσι, tall like a cypress tree. No article is also used when talking about items or substances that have no specific amount. For example, το μωρό θέλει γάλα. The baby wants some milk. Here are some sample sentences. Ο γιος μου έγινε γιατρός. My son became a doctor. Πήρα προαγωγή. I got a promotion. It takes some time to get comfortable with all the uses of articles, as they might be affected by other parts of speech, such as prepositions. But I think the points I mentioned are the most basic and important ones to keep in mind when you are just starting to learn Greek. How was the lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Γεια χαρά! Hi everybody, Stefania here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Greek questions. The question for this lesson is, how do you use the verb areso? The verb areso, to like, is not used the same way as in English. While in English we say, I like the ice cream, a typical SVO structure, subject, verb, object, in Greek we don't say εγώ αρέσω το παγωτό. We say μου αρέσει το παγωτό. This is an OVS structure, but there's more to know here than just reversing the order of the sentence's elements. Let's go into more detail. First, let's see the basic things you need to know about the verb areso. In a previous video, I mentioned that while most Greek transitive verbs get a direct object in the accusative case,
there are a few transitive verbs that get a direct object in genitive. The verb areso falls into this latter category. Its object is usually a weak personal pronoun in genitive. For example, mu, me, su, you, tu, him, tis, her, mas, us, sas, you, and tus, them. Such a direct object in genitive can be replaced by a similar prepositional phrase. In the case of areso, by se plus a pronoun, a noun, or a name in accusative. For example, στη Μαρία αρέσει το παγωτό. Mary likes ice cream. For the negation in the indicative mood, we place the negation particle then, meaning not, immediately before the verb, unless the object is a weak pronoun. In that case, the pronoun stands between the verb and then. Two examples are δεν μας αρέσουν οι ταινίες τρόμου. We don't like scary movies. Σε εμάς δεν αρέσουν οι ταινίες τρόμου. We don't like scary movies. Next, you need to know these two golden rules. Unless the subject of a sentence is a whole phrase, number 1, it needs to agree with the verb in person and number. And number 2, it is always in the nominative case. Let's take a look at our first example. Although in English it is I who likes ice cream, so I is the subject, in Greek that's not what happens. The verb aresi is in the third person, which means the subject is not I. Surprised? Actually, the subject here is το παγωτό, which is in the nominative case. If this doesn't make sense to you, think of this sentence like this. The ice cream is of my liking. Here the subject is ice cream, not I. So just remember, with areso, the subject in English is the object in Greek, and the English object is the Greek subject. Here is another sample sentence. Μας αρέσει αυτή η δασκάλα. We like this teacher. Some other things to remember are, number 1, in the case of μου αρέσει, I like, and σου αρέσει, you like, the final vowels of the weak personal pronouns can be replaced by an apostrophe, μ' αρέσει, σ' αρέσει. Number 2, word order is relatively flexible in Greek, but there can never be anything between the weak pronoun and the verb. For example, you can reverse the phrase and say το παγωτό μου αρέσει, I like ice cream, if you want to emphasize that it is ice cream that you like as opposed to something else. But you can't say μου το παγωτό αρέσει, I ice cream like. Number 3, in addition to the weak pronoun, there might be also a nominal phrase or a strong personal pronoun in the genitive case within the phrase. This happens for emphasis reasons. For example, μ' αρέσει το παγωτό εμένα, I like ice cream. Της Μαρίας της αρέσει το παγωτό. Mary likes ice cream. Number 4, the Greek subject might be a whole phrase. For example, it can be a phrase in subjunctive. Μου αρέσει το να κοιμάμαι. I like to sleep. I like sleeping. When reversing the word order in this sentence, you have to use the neuter article to before the subject, which it is usually omitted otherwise. Like in το να κοιμάμαι μου αρέσει. Here are some more sample sentences that use phrasal subjects. Του αρέσει όταν βρέχει. He likes it when it rains. Της αρέσει που της διαβάζω παραμύθια κάθε βράδυ. She likes it that I read to her fairy tales every night. Keep in mind that in this case, the phrase might refer to a different person than what the object denotes. For example, μου αρέσει να κοιμάσαι. A sentence like this is translated as I like you to sleep. How was the lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Γεια χαρά!
Μαθαίνω ελληνικά μόνος μου. I'm learning Greek all by myself. Let's move on to the next phrase. Μαθαίνω ελληνικά μόνος μου. I'm learning Greek all by myself. If you're a woman, you can say μαθαίνω ελληνικά μόνη μου. I don't think I could ever learn a language μόνη μου. I like being in a class with a teacher and classmates, but some people manage to learn things on their own, which is amazing. I wish I had the discipline it takes to do that. There's so many languages I would like to learn. Μου πήρε μόνο έναν χρόνο για να μάθω να μιλάω άπτεστα. It took me only 1 year to become fluent. Μου πήρε μόνο 1 χρόνο για να μάθω να μιλάω άπτεστα. It took me only 1 year to become fluent. People will get very impressed for sure if you manage to do that. We Greeks consider our language to be quite difficult to learn. Μπορώ και αποστηθίζω γύρω στις 50 νέες ελληνικές λέξεις την ημέρα. I can memorize around 50 new Greek words a day. Μπορώ και αποστηθίζω γύρω στις 50 νέες ελληνικές λέξεις την ημέρα. I can memorize around 50 new Greek words a day. That is a lot. Μπορώ να βλέπω ελληνικές ταινίες χωρίς υπότιτλους. I can watch Greek movies without subtitles. Μπορώ να βλέπω ελληνικές ταινίες χωρίς υπότιτλους. I can watch Greek movies without subtitles. If you can do that, then congratulations, you are fluent, my friend, and you don't need me anymore. Σε 3 χρόνια θα μιλάω ελληνικά σαν να ήταν η μητρική μου γλώσσα. I'll speak Greek like a native speaker in 3 years. Σε 3 χρόνια θα μιλάω ελληνικά σαν να ήταν η μητρική μου γλώσσα. I'll speak Greek like a native speaker in 3 years. Sounds like a big challenge. You think you can do it? Έχω μάθει να τραγουδάω τον εθνικό ύμνο. I learned how to sing the Greek national anthem. Έχω μάθει να τραγουδάω τον εθνικό ύμνο. I learned how to sing the Greek national anthem. Do you know the title of the Greek national anthem? It's called Hymnos εις την ελευθερίαν, meaning hymn to liberty or hymn to freedom, and it was written by the poet Dionysius Solomos and was put to music by Nikolaos Manzaros. When sung, the anthem consists of 2 stanzas, or verses as they call it in music. Although normally the poem consists of 158 stanzas, making it the longest in-text national anthem in the world. I bet you didn't know that.
Phrases for surviving back to school. A little crazy. But anyway, this is the lesson for today. 10 phrases for surviving back to school. I don't get this. How we will survive back to school? How anyone can survive back to school? Anyhow, I should stop drinking coffee. Very hyper today. Let's start. Number 1.
Σακίδιο. Backpack.
Σακίδιο. Backpack. Κάθε χρόνο της αρέσει να έχει καινούριο σακίδιο για το σχολείο. Every year she likes to have a new backpack for the school. Everyone likes to have a new backpack. Even me, that I'm not going to the school, I want every 3 months to change backpack. It's a normal thing. It's not only for the school.
Συμμαθητής. Classmate.
Συμμαθητής. Classmate. Ποιοι από τους συμμαθητές σου θα πάνε στο πάρτι? Which classmates of yours are going to the party? Important question. Remember it in Greek.
Μαθήματα. Homework.
Μαθήματα. Homework. A lot of homework. Έχεις κάνει τα μαθήματά σου? Have you done your homework? This question I really hate it. I always was hearing for 20 years. Have you done? Have you done? Anyway, I always did my homework. And I'm still doing my homework. Hope you do also. And learn fast the Greek language so to communicate easier.
Εξέταση. Exam.
Εξέταση. Exam. Οι εξετάσεις του πρώτου τριμήνου θα γίνουν τον Νοέμβριο. The exams of the first trimester will take place in November. Every 3 months we have exams. And every 6 months we have the major exams. And every year we have the crucial exams. So remember this. Εξέταση. Plural, εξετάσεις.
Καλοκαιρινές διακοπές. Summer break.
Oh, my favorite. Καλοκαιρινές διακοπές. Summer break. This is also a song in Greece, by the way. Επιστροφή στο σχολείο μετά τις καλοκαιρινές διακοπές είναι πάντα δύσκολη. The return to school after the summer break is always difficult. I know what to do.
Σχολείο. School.
Σχολείο. School. You can guess. It's easy. Το σχολείο χρειάζεται καλύτερο εξοπλισμό για το χημείο. The school needs better equipment for the chemistry lab. course it needs. Every school needs for the physics, for the mathematician and for the chemistry. Every year they have to renew.
Σπουδάζω. To study.
Σπουδάζω. To study. Σκέφτεται να σπουδάσει διοίκηση επιχειρήσεων. She's thinking of studying business management. This is what I'm doing. Business management. Especially in touristic sector. Είμαστε στην ίδια τάξη. We are in the same class. Είμαστε στην ίδια τάξη. We are in the same class. Not for long. If you don't pass the exams, you will not be in the same class. Ποια μαθήματα παρακολουθείς? What classes are you taking? Ποια μαθήματα παρακολουθείς? What classes are you taking? And you answer, none of your business. This is rude, eh? Very rude. Don't do this. Τελείωσες τα μαθήματά σου? Did you finish your homework? Τελείωσες τα μαθήματά σου? Did you finish your homework? This is a rhetorical question that's happening from your parents. So be aware what you will answer, eh? It's a rhetorical question.
10 questions you should know. These are good icebreaker questions that you can ask when speaking casually to someone or that others can ask you. So let's start. Πώς σε λένε? What's your name? There are a few ways you can ask someone's name in Greek, but the most common one is πώς σε λένε? Πώς σε λένε? What's your name? If your name is Stella, you can answer by saying με λένε Stella. My name is Stella. Basically, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. You can always use the part με λένε and just add your name the way you pronounce it in your language. What I mean is that you don't convert it to a Greek name. I say this because many of you ask me, what's my name in Greek? Some names do have an equivalent, usually Christian names such as George or Catherine. But to be honest, it's best to just use your name as it is. Τι κάνεις? How are you? Let's move on to the next question, which is, I think, the most frequently used in everyday life, and that is τι κάνεις? How are you? Τι κάνεις? You can use it when you meet someone, when you are talking on the phone, or when you are texting someone. Sometimes Greeks don't even say hi and jump straight to τι κάνεις or op, τι κάνεις? That op is an exclamation like hey. A common and polite answer to this is καλά, ευχαριστώ. I'm fine, thanks. Τι κάνεις? Καλά, ευχαριστώ. Από πού είσαι? Where are you from? Από πού είσαι? Where are you from? If someone asks this question to you, then they probably want to know which country you're from. If you're in Greece and you ask one of the locals, then they will probably tell you which city, town, or island they are from. For example, είμαι από την Αθήνα. I'm from Athens. Πότε είναι τα γενέθλιά σου? When is your birthday? Πότε είναι τα γενέθλιά σου? When is your birthday? Πότε είναι τα γενέθλιά σου? If your birthday is, say, on the 25th of April, you can say είναι στις 25 Απριλίου. It's on the 25th of April. You will always need to use the prepositional article στις before the day of the month, except if you were born on the first day of the month. In that case, you need to say την πρώτη, meaning on the first. That's because you need the singular and not the plural. Πού μένεις? Where do you live? Πού μένεις? Where do you live? It's good to wait a little before asking this question, otherwise people might think you're being indiscreet. A typical answer would be μένω στο Ηράκλειο. I live in Heraklion. Here the article στο might vary, depending on the city or location, as it will always have to match the gender of that word. Πού δουλεύεις? Where do you work? Πού δουλεύεις? Where do you work? Πού δουλεύεις? Another question that might sound a bit indiscreet. Perhaps asking first, με τι ασχολείσαι? What's your occupation? Might be a good idea. A common answer could be, δουλεύω για μια εταιρεία κινητής τηλεφωνίας.
I work for a mobile communications company. If that person doesn't mention the company name, this means they want to keep it for themselves. But if you are really curious and want to be nosy, nonetheless, then you can go ahead and ask, για ποια εταιρεία? For which company? Okay, moving on. Ποιο είναι το τηλέφωνό σου? What's your phone number? Let's say you met someone really interesting and you want to keep in touch. You'll want to ask for their phone number. In that case, you can say, ποιο είναι το τηλέφωνό σου? What's your phone number? Ποιο είναι το τηλέφωνό σου? And the other person can say, το τηλέφωνό μου είναι το 555-0376. My phone number is 555-0376. This actually sounds like a Hollywood movie phone number. In Greece, numbers don't start with 555. Mobile numbers start with 6 and landlines with 2, usually. The country code is +30 if you dial from abroad. And that was the useless fact of the day, courtesy of your Greek teacher, me. Πού έμαθες ελληνικά? Where did you learn Greek? Πού έμαθες ελληνικά? Where did you learn Greek? Πού έμαθες ελληνικά? This is a question you will probably get a lot. You can say, έμαθα ελληνικά κάνοντας ιδιαίτερα μαθήματα. I learned Greek through private lessons. Or, έμαθα ελληνικά με το GreekPod101.com. I learned Greek with GreekPod101.com. Σου αρέσει το ελληνικό φαγητό? Do you like Greek food? Σου αρέσει το ελληνικό φαγητό? Do you like Greek food? Pretty sure most of you do. So you can say, ναι, μου αρέσει πολύ. Yes, I love it. If you don't like it, you can also say, ναι, μου αρέσει πολύ, unless you purposely want people not to like you. In that case, you can say, όχι, δεν μου αρέσει. No, I don't like it. And open Pandora's box. I wouldn't want to argue about food with a Greek, so I'm just warning you. Έχεις πάει ποτέ στην Ελλάδα? Have you been to Greece? Έχεις πάει ποτέ στην Ελλάδα? Have you been to Greece? Obviously, a question others will ask you. If you haven't been to Greece, you can say something like, όχι, αλλά θα ήθελα να πάω. No, but I'd like to go. Who knows, maybe you'll get invited to someone's summer house. 10 foods that will kill you faster. Ενεργειακά ποτά. Energy drinks. Τα ενεργειακά ποτά περιέχουν υπερβολική ζάχαρη. Τα ενεργειακά ποτά περιέχουν υπερβολική ζάχαρη. Energy drinks contain too much sugar. I don't remember energy drinks being available in Greece when I was a kid. I think this became a trend later on, but overall, I don't think they are very popular in Greece, and that's a good thing. Επεξεργασμένο κρέας. Processed meat. Τα αλλαντικά είναι επεξεργασμένα κρέατα. Τα αλλαντικά είναι επεξεργασμένα κρέατα. Cold cuts are processed meats. Apart from ham, salami, and mortadella, a popular type of cold cut in Greece is parisa, which is kind of like a bologna. We also have a smaller version of parisa, which we call parizaki, and it comes in a smaller tube, like a salami tube. Καραμέλα. Candy. Μου αρέσουν οι καραμέλες με γεύση κανέλας. Μου αρέσουν οι καραμέλες με γεύση κανέλας. I like cinnamon-flavored candies. I personally stopped eating candy many years ago. But I guess one piece of candy once in a while is not going to kill you, right?
Want to finally start speaking in your target language? In this guide, you'll discover the top 7 ways to practice speaking on your own with our lessons. Let's begin. Number 1, shadowing. Shadowing is a proven learning technique where all you do is repeat what you hear in order to practice speaking. So access any audio or video lesson on the site and press the play button to start. Then, as you listen or watch, just repeat the conversations. Or, even easier, read along out loud with the dialogue section. The script is right there in front of you. With our lessons, you can master entire conversations, just like that. Number 2, read out loud. I just mentioned it, but reading out loud is another powerful tactic and deserves its own mention. With every lesson, you get written transcripts and translations. So, as you play the lesson, read the dialogue out loud as you hear it. Why? By reading out loud, you're also practicing your speaking skills. You can do this with the lesson notes, the lesson transcript, or the dialogue tool. With the dialogue tool, you can listen to each line again and again, and repeat out loud until you master them all. Number 3, speed up your reading to speed up your speaking. Being able to speak without thinking is a sign of language mastery. If you're talking to a native and can respond quickly, they'll assume that you're fairly fluent. How can you do this? When you read out loud, try increasing your speed a little bit every time. So, start by reading with the dialogue tool. If you're like most learners, you'll read the first line slowly. That's because you're still getting used to the words, which is okay. Reread it. On your second try, you know most of the words, and you'll read a little faster. Reread it again. On your third try, you'll be even faster, at a native speaker's speed. And being able to read these phrases out loud and fast will help you speak fast. Number 4, record and compare yourself with native speakers. In order to sound like a native speaker, you must imitate native speakers. So here's how. Access the voice recorder, which is in the Dialogue Study tool in every lesson. Click on the microphone icon. Listen to the native speaker's audio, and then record yourself. You can then compare the 2 recordings side by side, and practice and try again and again until you perfect your pronunciation. Number 5, get feedback from our Premium Plus teacher. If you're learning by yourself and don't have access to real teachers, then you can always get feedback from our Premium Plus teachers. With the My Teacher tool, you can record yourself speaking and send the audio file to the teacher. They'll review it and tell you what to improve and how. That's it. Number 6, level up your speaking with Premium Plus assignments. With Premium Plus, you can also get assignments that cover reading, writing, listening, and even speaking from your teacher. These assignments can be tailored to your goals and needs. You get a new one every week, or anytime you're ready for a new one. Number 7, get even more lessons in the lesson library. If you want even more lessons on speaking and conversations, visit our lesson library and under Category, choose Conversation. You'll get all of the pathways and lessons that are focused on speaking. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way, and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Γεια, λέγομαι Χρυσή. Hi everybody, I'm Chrissy. Welcome to GreekPod101.com's ελληνικά σε 3 λεπτά. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Greek. In the last lesson, we learned how to be grateful to people by saying ευχαριστώ. In this lesson, we'll learn some of the most common greetings used in Greece. Είστε έτοιμοι? Are you ready? Ξεκινάμε, so let's start. The most used informal greeting is ya. Ya. Ya means hi, hello, or goodbye. We use it when we meet, but also when we leave. We should only use this greeting with friends or relatives. If you want to be more formal, you need to pay attention to the time of day. The most common phrase is kalimera. Kalimera. Literally, kalimera means good day. However, we may also interpret it as good morning or good afternoon. As a rule of thumb, we can use kalimera only during the daytime, from morning until early afternoon. During the late afternoon and evening, we say kalispera. Kalispera. Espera or spera is ancient Greek for the part of the day after sunset. So kalispera means good afternoon or good evening. Kalimera and kalispera are used when we meet someone, but when we leave, we don't say them again. In this formal situation, Greek people use adio. Adio. Adio means goodbye. If you're leaving after around 8 p.m., you can say kalinichta, which literally means good night. Kalinichta. Finally, it is very common in Greek to use the informal hi we introduced in the beginning of this lesson as a parting greeting as well. Ya. Ya. Now you can greet people in many different ways in Greek. Let's review them all again. When greeting in an informal situation, we say ya. When greeting in a formal situation, we say kalimera or kalispera. When leaving in a formal situation, adio. When leaving in an informal situation, ya. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Chris's insights. In formal situations, Greek people commonly greet each other by shaking hands. On the other hand, if we meet someone we are very friendly with, we kiss each other on both cheeks. Don't be afraid to do it with your Greek friends. It's normal. During the next lesson, we'll learn the meaning of the phrase «Μιλάτε αγγλικά». Do you already know it? We'll be waiting to talk about it with you in our next Ελληνικά σε 3 λεπτά lesson. Γεια!
Today we're going to talk about 4 techniques to help you stop translating in your head and instead start thinking in your target language. This will allow you to have conversations with ease, read smoothly, and better understand native speakers. These are 4 methods to help you think in a new language. Number 1, surround yourself with your target language. This way, you'll be completely immersed in the language. Without realizing it, you'll learn pronunciation, sentence structures, grammar, and new vocabulary. Play music in the background while you're cooking, or have a radio station on while you study. Just use one of our endless podcasts available to you. These are easy to listen to in the background while doing other things. Number 2, learn through observation. This is how we all learned our native languages as kids. Words will develop their own meanings that relate better to your target language, rather than meanings that are translated directly. Number 3, speak out loud to yourself. Even if you're a little embarrassed, it forces you to listen to how you speak. It makes it much easier to spot simple grammar mistakes. Number 4, practice daily. If you practice everything for only one day, you won't retain the information you learned. The brain can realistically only focus for about 30 minutes. So studying a little every day allows you to absorb better. Follow these steps and have patience. You'll soon be able to achieve your language learning goals. Just make sure to remember these 4 methods. Sign up for your free lifetime account. No credit card required, and you'll get the best free online resources. And start learning more every day. Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.